Hi everyone, my name is Virginia Duan, also known as Mandarin Mama. I'm your host for the Noona ARMY Podcast, where I discuss the particular challenges and aspects of being a middle-aged BTS fan. Today I'd like to talk about how to be a good BTS fan. I feel like this topic is... I feel like I shouldn't have to have an episode on this topic. And truthfully, I don't know if the people who would listen to this episode even need to hear it. But I'm going to give my opinion anyway, since it's my podcast. First off, I think it goes without saying that the number one way to be a good BTS fan is to not be a stalker. Don't be a sasang. Respect BTS members' boundaries, respect their private lives, respect their actual humanity, respect their personhood. Follow the rules on Weverse, right? I think Big Hit just released this guidance on how, what is permissible behavior. And they had to include things like, don't stalk BTS family members. Don't stalk BTS members' friends. Don't find their private schedules. Don't try and buy tickets on their same flight on purpose and sit next to them and make them feel uncomfortable. Don't be an asshole. Don't follow them around. Treat them like people. And I feel like it should go without saying. But apparently it needs to be said. Basically all the guidelines that Big Hit released was don't be a stalker 101, respect people's boundaries. As a person who has been stalked, and it was terrifying, and the stalker wasn't even very good at their job, in the sense of they weren't very good at stalking, but it was terrifying. I had just had my second child. She was maybe 3 months old at the time, and this person who clearly had a mental health issue, was homeless. I had known him in high school, and he just randomly called my office, started showing up at my office. Thank goodness I hadn't been there in a while since I just had a baby, but he ended up stalking my mother, who also worked with me at the time, and someone else who shared the office with them. And to even file documents in America was awful. In California, it was almost impossible. I have a college education. My friend was a lawyer. My mother has a master's. And it was really difficult to navigate. The hours were very limited. It was very difficult to access via public transit. So I'm grateful we didn't have to have that. But it was really difficult since I had small children. It's not like you can bring small children to a courtroom. And then even in the filing documents, you pretty much have to reveal where you live and where you work. So if the stalker didn't know beforehand, they know now, because now that's the only way they can say that, they know not to be around you. They know that this is the areas that they're supposed to avoid. So I'm okay, so I've just given them all the information that they didn't previously have, so that I can file a restraining order. So and again, my situation wasn't even that serious. I can't even imagine if I were financially dependent upon my stalker, or if the person who was abusing me or hurting me or treating me badly was an intimate partner or a family member. And it was just really difficult. And so I can only imagine how much more difficult it is and terrifying when everyone seems to know every single thing about you. So don't do it. Don't be a stalker. Don't be an asshole. Respect their boundaries. I feel like that shouldn't even need to be said, right? I feel like the majority of fans are decent people and aren't going to be doing that. But yeah, I understand. I think recently someone posted a picture of them taking a sneak pic of RM at the Broad in LA. And while I think that's really rude and dangerous because it reveals their location, it's understandable. But again, don't do it. She asked permission, he said no, and then she still did it. Then why ask permission? why ask permission if you're just going to disrespect someone like that? So I know I spent like a long time talking about this, longer than I personally think is necessary. But don't do it. Don't be a stalker. If you think momentarily, is this stalker behavior? Then maybe it might be stalker behavior. Okay? If you don't want someone to do that to you, don't do it to somebody else. All right? Like, isn't that like the golden rule? Didn't we learn this as like preschoolers, kindergartners? All right. Pretty much that's it. I feel like that's how you can be a good fan. There's no right or wrong way to fan or to stan. Okay, some people might say, oh, you should stream their stuff. Oh, you should buy all their merch. You should buy tickets. You should you should do all these things. But the truth is, that might not be possible. You might not be in a financial situation to do so. You might not live geographically close or feasible to the concerts. You might not be able to stream as often as you like on like Comeback because you have a job or you have children or, any number of things. Like there really is no, I'm afraid this is a very short episode, but like, don't let anyone tell you how you cannot be a fan. Okay? Like, there's no right or wrong way to be a fan. Support BTS however you are able to, in whatever capacity that you are able to, without it negatively affecting your mental health, your life, your finances, your relationships, your work. Like the things that really matter to you, fan in such a way that it doesn't affect that. Now, if people are negative in your life and like look down on you and are treating you poorly because you're a fan of BTS, and I'm not talking about like random people on the internet, I'm talking about people you actually know, family members, children, friends. If they're treating you badly and awful because you like a boy band at your age, then, it's none of their business. And then maybe don't talk to them about it, which I know is really isolating and hard. But, I hate to say it, you have to look at kind of how they are about everything in your life. And is it just this particular instance? Probably not. But if it is, then like, hey, that's just not their bag. And it might suck that you can't share this part of yourself with, people who are important to you. But sometimes that happens, right? And maybe you can find people online. I had a whole podcast episode on how to make friends who are BTS fans. So I think that's episode 4. But if it is more indicative of how they treat you in general and treat the things that you care about and love, then you might want to think about that relationship and reevaluate it. I'm not like telling you to cut off all your friends and your family and your husband because they don't like BTS and they don't support your lifestyle choices. But, if it is an indicator of a larger general pattern of behavior and how they treat you, then you have to think about why. Why are they doing this? Is there something that you're doing? Is it something that they're doing? Is it indicative of a deeper problem? Not to get all therapist-y on you, but usually the symptoms of something aren't the same as the cause, right? So I would definitely recommend examining those interactions and your role in them, and just kind of seeing if there's ways to break that cycle or to address it or to communicate better. This is actually not how I foresaw this podcast going, but we go where the Spirit leads us. Other things that I think you might want to also consider is to not engage in fan wars. Like, don't engage in people who are just trying to be shit starters. Whether it's on Stan Twitter, whether it's on Instagram, like, it doesn't do anyone any good. I personally don't think so anyway. Like, there's no need to, I feel like, just like we as BTS fans do not enjoy being told who or what we should like and how we shouldn't like BTS, or like how we're standing them wrong. Other people who love other groups also don't like to be told that the group that they like isn't great or whatever, right? Like, so again, like, use your brain, use your common sense, use your empathy. Like, it is possible to like more than one thing. In fact, I think it's advisable to like more than one thing. Like, what did you do with yourself before there was BTS? I hope you had other interests. How sad and limiting of a life if the only thing in it is BTS, because then you're putting your eggs all in one basket. And as great as they are, they're still people. They're human, and they will inevitably disappoint you or fail you. And if they're the only thing in your life, that's going to be hard. But yeah, don't engage in fan wars. Like, no one ever convinced someone else of something on the internet by yelling at them or telling them that they're wrong, right? Like, how else do you explain all of politics, all of religion, all of pretty much anything, right? Like, don't engage. It's not worth your peace of mind. It's not worth your mental health. And also, it doesn't really help anybody. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help the reputation of ARMY as fans. It doesn't help at all. I mean, it in fact makes people look bad. Now, does that mean like if someone's insulting BTS, you should just take it on the chin and, turn the other cheek? I mean, maybe, because again, how can you actually win this conversation? You can't. There's no winning, right? There's no winning. There's no prize for like best shutdown on Twitter, right? Like, there's nothing you really gain from it. Does that mean you can't call out racism or toxic masculinity or like sexism and xenophobia and like bias? No, I think that's different. I think criticizing legitimate things and even just saying, hey, like, what you're saying is not appropriate, the things that you say is not kind, whatever. I think that's different than like engaging in a back and forth of like, hey, well, your band sucks, and oh, your band lip syncs, and your blah 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 blah. Like, let people like what they like. You can call out things that are really, really problematic, but again, you can do so in a way that is not overly either antagonistic or insulting or cruel, right? So that's my personal opinion. That doesn't necessarily mean you agree with me. And if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. And see? Sorry, that was a really bad joke. But yeah, like, just don't be a dick. And on some days it's harder than others. For me, being an asshole is like a default personality. But I try online and in public to not be an asshole, because, if you're an asshole to people who are supposed to love you, that's kind of okay. But, other people don't have to like you. So maybe treat them okay. So on a purely self-serving sort of level, don't be a dick. How else to be a good fan? Let them live, right? I feel like as older fans, we have less of a problem with this, partially because perhaps we already have like spouses or children or other things. Like we've lived enough and experienced enough of life to know that crazes and stardom and fame, they come and go, and that ultimately, if you care about someone, you're not going to want them to miss out on the things in life, right? Like, if we really actually do love BTS members, and as much as we say we do, then don't we want them to live the life that fulfills them with love and either the people they love or pursuits that they love? So why would we not want them to be with the people? Why wouldn't we want them to date or to get married or to have children, and however that looks like, with men, women, multiple women, whatever. Like, if we love somebody, then we want the best for them, and if the best for them is what they choose for themselves, right? So, like, let them live their lives. And again, I really don't think that this is something that older fans have a problem with, right? Because we've already lived our own lives. Why shouldn't why shouldn't they have that benefit? In case you need a reminder, yes, I personally sometimes feel very sad. And I feel really ridiculous saying this, but I mean, just yesterday, I think I was texting my group chat like, oh, I'm really sad all of a sudden because I just realized again, like I don't know why like it's such a shock every time I realize this, but yeah, I just realized that I will never, like, part of me doesn't want to say it because then if I say it, I'm putting it out in the universe. But part of me also knows that it's not good to be delusional. But like sometimes I get sad that I don't actually know BTS as like real people. Like, because, you know, they're so good on all their like shows and social media, and we consume so much of their content that we think that we actually know them. We think that we're friends or whatever like weird thing goes through your mind, that they, you know, that is part of K-pop culture, right? Because that's part of the fun. But like sometimes I get actually sad, like, oh, I live in a world, in a reality where Min Yoongi is not going to marry me, and I'm not going to bear his children. Like, and I think, I mean, it sounds so ridiculous to say. I'm kind of embarrassed about it, and I actually feel the same way about all of them, really. But since Suga is my bias, I feel it particularly strongly with him. But like, you know, it just hit me the other day, like, oh, Suga is not going to come home from a long day of work and then like sit next to me on the couch and sigh and say like, oh, today was a bad day, and then I won't be able to like have a casual conversation about like buying more milk or something, and then it made me sad. And I was like, oh, I'm so sad that I live in a reality where that is not possible. I mean, sure, we could like possibly indulge in this like crazy fantasy of how like maybe a South Korean pop star who is like 26 years old, soon to be 27, is going to somehow randomly meet a work and stay-at-home mom of 41 who lives in America and like somehow fall madly in love with me and then need to marry me, and that I'm going to actually uproot my entire family, divorce my husband, or if they're both cool with it, have a second husband. Like I mean, in what it's I mean, we could pretend, but several things. One, I am now slightly embarrassed that I have said this out loud. And then two, like, it's not really going to happen, right? So sometimes I feel really sad. But I also know that it's embarrassing to like think about, but also it's also normal to think about, right? Like when you care about people, you want to spend your time with them, and then you naturally think of you know, plausible situations. Or you just like invent completely new realities, right? Like time travel or whatever. I share this for several reasons. One, because it's kind of funny. Two, but also I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks this way, right? Like, and so I want you to feel normal. And then three, I mean, there's nothing wrong with thinking these things, but I think when you expect them to happen, or you feel entitled to someone because you have these unrequited feelings, and then that you totally relate to that super fan of Suga and want to sue him for attacking your heart. But like, you know, like it's normal, it's funny, and it's also because I know that it's, you know, I do actually love my life and my family most of the time, you know, like, so it's I've really kind of derailed this entire podcast, but my point is, it doesn't matter. It's okay to think these things, but that doesn't mean just because you think them that they're going to come true, that they're even close to coming true, and that it doesn't mean that you're entitled to any of their feelings, right? This is really embarrassing. But well, now it's out there, and And who knows, maybe now that I've spoken to the universe, it could happen. I mean, I'm just going to stop before it just gets even more embarrassing. And like my husband watches, which he won't because he totally does not care in terms of like my obsession about BTS. He's a secure man. He's fine with this. I feel like this tip is pretty much the same as don't be a sasaeng, right? Don't be a stalker. But yeah, just let them live. Be happy for them. Be happy for their lives. Be happy for what they choose to do with their lives. I mean, short of doing something like supremely criminal and horrible, which I can't imagine, but I mean, that's what people say about serial killers, right? Like, oh, he was such a nice man. And again, don't at me. I'm not saying BTS members are future serial killers. Okay, this is the wrong podcast for that. But yeah, just let them live. Let them live their lives. I feel like that's, you know. And then in terms of all the other stuff, I feel like just be a good human. Don't be a dick. That's how you be a fan, right? However you want to support them, however you can support them, do so to your capacity. I don't think BTS members expect you to buy every single thing that they have ever touched. I don't think they expect you to go out and buy a Hyundai Palisade. I don't think they expect you to like hunt down every single packet of Lamona or coffee. And I mean, it's cool if you do. There's nothing wrong. I mean, that doesn't make you a good fan or a better fan than somebody else, right? Like ultimately, I think the best way to be a fan is to be good to yourself, right? To respect yourself and to respect others. I mean, being a good fan is literally just being a good human, right? And just extending that, like, being a good human to also loving a group called BTS. I mean, I guess that's it. I hope this covers, I mean, I know I spoke kind of generally, but this really covers, like, you don't have to worry about not donating to fan projects, not going to cup signings, cup sleeve events, or like anything. But it's okay if you do go to them. Like, just have a good time. It's entertainment. It's fun, you know? And so consume BTS and their like ancillary content however you choose. There's no right or wrong way to stand as long as you are respectful of them as people and respectful of yourself and respectful of others. I think that covers a lot of ground, right? Don't you think those type of guidelines are better than like a stringent rule of you must do X, Y, Z? I mean, I think we're all grown-ups, right? All right. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. If you're listening as a podcast, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe and leave a review. And I'll see you next time. Bye.